Y'all know what time it is, man. It's UFC 319 going down in Chicago this weekend, and honestly, it's a good card. I live in Chicago. I was very excited and highly anticipating to go there live, but unfortunately, I just cannot afford, or at least come to reason to afford, like the $500 nosebleed ticket. So it's just a bit too much for my pocket, and unfortunately, I'm going to be watching at the bars with the fellas. It's still a good time. We have a good card on our hands, boys. We have the fight of the year. I mean, Aspinall and Jones fell through. Makhachev and Topuria might never happen. So this, in my opinion, is the best fight of this year. It's the most highly anticipated. It's high level. It's a great main event, and we have a pretty solid card, a good main card, and some solid prelims to follow it up. So today I'm going to be giving y'all my full card predictions and breakdown for UFC 319 going down in Chicago this weekend, man. So just starting off with the first one we got, man, the middleweight scrap, and Bryan Battle making his middleweight debut in the UFC, I believe, going against Nursultan Ruziboev. Now, my pick here is gonna be Ruziboev, and I'm very hesitant to do that, okay, because Bryan Battle is honestly one of my favorite prospects for the welterweight division, but it seems like, and just in the UFC in general, I know he's coming off of a stinker of a performance, a very clinch-heavy fest against fucking Randy Brown, who's going on to do great things since, but Bryan Battle, man, I'm not just gonna fall off of the train just because of one kind of stinker of a performance. I still think that Bryan Battle, he is a good fighter, he's solidly well-rounded, and most of the time he fucking brings the entertainment. Unfortunately, that last outing, man, he didn't really show off everything in the skill set. I believe he missed weight, and it was a poor performance from him that a lot of people thought that he fucking lost, and now he's coming back here, coming back 8 months later and stepping up to middleweight. I think that the weight cut was probably just too much for him. Again, he missed it against Randy Brown, so maybe it was just too much. He's 6'1", he's got a 77-inch reach, so he's pretty built for welterweight, but it just seems like the weight is too much for him, and I'm going with Ruziboev mainly because if this fight was going down for welterweight, I'd be going with Bryan Battle. I think he's the sharper fighter, I think he's quicker, and I think he's the better striker, but I just don't think he has the size and the power really that you need for middleweight, especially going against a guy like Ruziboev, who he's pretty well-rounded. You know, he's a finishing artist in all fucking regards. He can knock you out on the feet, but he also can submit you and fucking squeeze your head off, okay? Ruziboev, he does it all. 40-plus pro fights, so he has a shit ton of experience, and Bryan Battle only 15, so it's a bit of night and day in that regard, but Ruziboev, the things he does have going for him and why I'm picking him in this fight is because the size advantage, I think he fits the middleweight mold a lot more. His power actually translates up here. He has the grappling advantage as well. Like, I feel like his wrestling is just better. Not that Bryan Battle can't mix it up, not that he can't shoot a few takedowns, but primarily he's gonna want to strike. He's not gonna want to take the fight to the mats. And when he does try and shoot takedowns, like, his accuracy isn't that good. On the defensive side of things, his takedown defense, his defensive grappling, Bryan Battle is there, but I just think that Ruziboev is gonna be the much more offensive grappler. Probably going to be the more well-rounded fighter. I think that he is going to be able to hang in the pocket with Bryan Battle, because Bryan Battle, I think, is the sharper and better striker, but I just don't know if his power and his finishing ability is going to be able to translate the same up at middleweight, man. Like those fucking round one knockouts he got over Kevin Jusain. He's saying, y'all didn't think the Butcher was going to lose to a Frenchman, did you? I don't know if he's going to be able to have those moments at middleweight, man. These middleweight motherfuckers are big. You got Chimaev up here. You got DDP up here. Big bad Bo Nickel. You know what I'm saying? So, fuck. I like this scrap. It's pretty interesting. I could see why Bryan Battle is the favorite, and I like the guy. I want to be going with him here. I just think that Ruziboev is going to be too much. He's a high-pressure fighter. He sets a pretty heavy pace from the start, and Bryan Battle is very comfortable hanging in a dogfight scenario. He knows how to hang in a heavy pace, but I think Ruziboev is going to bring a heavy fucking pressure and is going to try and fucking take this fight to the ground. He has the much better takedown entries, and I could see a decision here coming from Ruziboev. It hurts, man, but my gut, just that weird gut feeling in the air, I could smell an upset here. Moving on up next to a bit of an Unk versus Unk matchup we got here. We got Eds and Barboza taking on Jakar Klose. Originally, I was going to go with Klose, I'm not going to lie, but my prediction here is going to be Eds and Barboza via a 29-28 decision, man. There's a couple of things that convinced me to go with Barboza. I mean, when I was looking at him, he's 39 years old, he's getting up there in age. Father Time is clearly not on his side, okay? He's a bit away from 40 years old. It's crazy to say. Barboza has so much experience in the UFC, especially at a high level, but with that comes a lot of damage, a lot of wear on the belt, man. So I'm looking at Barboza. He's not going to be quicker than ever. He's not going to be more durable than ever. He's not going to be the fastest or strongest we've ever fucking seen him. So I'm like, okay, is this Unk just going to be breaking down in front of our very fucking eyes? But this is the year of the Unks. 2025, we've seen so many young prospects fucking lose, or we've seen a lot of undefeated fighters lose their O. Like, Jesus Christ, the Unks have really held down the fucking sport. And Barboza, I'm going to be following into that trend, man. I think Barboza is going to be able to hold it down. He's fighting Jakar Klose as well, who's a bit of an unk as well. He's 37 years old, and you look at Klose, man, I thought he was way fucking younger, but I know he's coming off a pretty rough knockout loss, but he didn't look terrible before that. He got a fucking takedown in somehow on Joel Alvarez, and in general, Jakar Klose, he's not a bad fighter. He's pretty fucking solid. He's only lost very little in the UFC. One win was to a jobber, one win was to like Beneil Dariush via a pretty fun fight and a fucking brutal knockout, and the other was to Joel Alvarez via a brutal knockout. So Jakar Klose, there are durability concerns. He can get cracked. He can get caught. There's defensive striking gaps, and there's a bit of inconsistent finishing ability on the offensive end of things, because Jakar Klose, he can crack, but also he can't necessarily take it all the time. If he's going against somebody who's slick enough, fast enough, or powerful enough, or is just setting a very heavy pace, then obviously I think Jakar Klose is susceptible to getting knocked the fuck out. But Edson Barboza, I don't think he's going to be quicker than he ever was before. I think we're going to see a bit of a slower Edson Barboza, especially because Barboza hasn't fought in like a year and a fucking half. He's coming off a pretty rough beating, the little Rowan Murphy, bro. But in general, I mean, Barboza was still able to have a couple moments in that fight. And before that, he beat back-to-back prospects in Sadiq Youssef, and I believe it was Billy Quarantillo, whatever the fuck, Tarantino. So Barboza is still capable of hanging with the young bucks. I think the time off is going to be pretty concerning, though. Like, you don't know how the ring rust is going to affect Barboza, especially at the older age, but he has so much experience, I'm going to assume it's second nature to this motherfucker to just step back in the cage, okay? I'm going with Barboza via 29-28 decision. I think that his shin is solid enough to be able to hang with Klose's best shots. I think it's still, even at the older age, I know Unk versus Unk here, but I think Barboza is going to be the quicker, sharper, a bit more of the sniper-like fighter in there. He's got an elite kick game. We all know this. Very elite kicks in his arsenal. He's got sharp counters. He's got pretty good takedown defense and pretty high-level fight IQ to where I could see Barboza kind of piecing up close. Maybe not necessarily getting a knockout. I don't think he has that finishing ability at this stage in the game, but I think he'll be able to make this fight a bit scrappy here. I think this one's going to go the distance. Klose is a solid fighter, solidly well-rounded, but I just think he's a bit inconsistent in his performances. His shin, it's kind of on and off. His defense on the feet worries me, and I feel like he doesn't have enough accurate or efficient enough takedowns to really just be able to dominate Barboza on the ground the whole time. You know what I mean? So I think Barboza's takedown defense, I think his striking, I think everything is going to be able to hold up. And I think Klose is just a winnable opponent for him. I could see Klose getting this one done, to be honest, but if Klose wins, I feel like that's a sign for Barboza to unfortunately hang up the fucking gloves, okay? Moving on up next to Chase Hooper, this all the smoke MMA and Ben Askren fucking lookalike, alright? Chase Hooper taking on Alexander Hernandez. I'm not crazy about this matchmaking for this fight specifically, but I'm going with Chase Hooper, alright? Chase Hooper, man, he's relentless on the ground. This Charles Oliveira motherfucker, dude. The elite Brazilian jiu-jitsu, his submission game in general, his ever-improving ground and pound. Like, Chase Hooper, man, he's a demon on the fucking ground. And again, I compare him to Charles Oliveira because this motherfucker had a kid or two, and now all of a sudden he's coming into his second win. Chase Hooper, when he came into the UFC pretty early on, like, a bit of a win one, lose one kind of fighter. He started off very fucking young in his career. Raul Rosas Jr., Joshua Van. There's so many young fighters that are like under 23 years old that are fighting right now in the UFC. But Chase Hooper, man, he was around that ballpark and he was kind of winning one, losing one. But over the past few years, man, he's been really developing a lot and just gaining a lot of that necessary experience that he needed. And whether that's in losing or winning, man, like he's really been developing his striking a lot. So his stand-up game is a lot more solid now. He can kind of hang in the pocket with a lot of guys. And his grappling has just been developing so fucking much, especially on the offensive side of things, man. Like this guy is good with his submission entries. He's got good ground and pound. He sets a pretty heavy pace on the ground. He puts on entertaining scrambles, man. Like it's interesting to see Chase Hooper in the fucking cage. And I like this win streak he's on right now. He's taking out Unk after Unk for the division, and it seems Alexander Hernandez, another Unk with a fucking one-piece kind of bounty out for his head, because I don't know how we kind of got this Chase Hooper matchup here. I think there's a reason why Chase Hooper's such a big favorite. I feel like he has the clear grappling advantage. I mean, I feel like Hernandez does have maybe the power and the alright enough striking to maybe kind of give Hooper some problems on the feet, but I just feel like Hernandez is so inconsistent with his results, man. He's kind of just one of these like win one and lose one, win one, lose two fighters here. And I just think Hernandez, he's a solid striker, but I don't think his grappling is strong enough to hang with Chase Hooper, especially on the defensive end of things here, man. And his striking is solid. He can crack, but I think that Chase Hooper's shin is durable enough and his striking is improving enough to where he might not hit the fucking hardest, but I think he'll be alright to get scrappy on the feet with Hernandez, take his biggest shots, and be able to comfortably take this fight to the ground and look for some kind of submission or some kind of ground and pound TKO, or even just efficiently controlling the fuck out of him, man, and just beating him up over 3 rounds. Whatever it is, I think there's a reason why this motherfucker is the favorite, and I think you should give him a ranked opponent next, man. I like the improvements I've been seeing out of Hooper. Good prospect to invest in for the division. I'm going with Chase Superman. Moving on up next to GM3 Meerschaert taking on Mikel Oleksiejczuk. Now, this one is deceivingly very hard to call. I know Oleksiejczuk is one of the bigger favorites on the card, but I am so goddamn tempted. I'm so tempted, man. I just sat here, swear to God, and I paused the recording for like a whole 10 minutes. I'm like, Jesus Christ, do I do GM3? Do I Oleksiejczuk? I'm going with Mikel Oleksiejczuk, but I am so tempted to go with GM3, man. He's a plus 200. My mind and my gut are telling me GM3, but honestly, this is a card where I'm honestly going to be picking a lot more underdogs than I usually go with, and I'm not as confident as GM3 as the underdogs that I'm going to go with here. So I'm going to go Oleksiejczuk to get it done, man. He's got heavy hands. He's got consistent knockout power, very aggressive pressure, and he's got solid wrestling and solid ground and pound to be able to hang on the ground with a lot of guys. He can be very wild at times, though. Like, he can be missing and swinging for the fucking fences. He can get caught. He can overcommit to big shots. He can get fucking cracked. And his conditioning and cardio kind of wears as the fight goes on. Not that he can't hang in 3-round kind of banger scenarios, but I feel like he's a lot more comfortable in the round 1 knockout or round 2 early knockout kind of vibe. You know what I'm saying? So Oleksiejczuk, he's got heavy hands. I feel like he can crack. I could see him taking out GM3. And GM3, man, his chin gets tested so fucking much lately, man. Like, he's getting consistently knocked down or knocked out even completely, like on and off. And GM3 in general, man, like, I respect that this guy only all submission wins in the UFC. He's a bit of a journeyman, but I fucking love GM3. I respect it. He's won me plus money multiple times, man. Like, GM3 getting upset after upset, man. Like, he's consistently won as an underdog, man. So you can count on that for GM3, and even with him having the grappling advantage here, and even with him being able to totally pull off some kind of submission, because Mikel Oleksiejczuk, a solid amount of his 9 losses in general in MMA are via submission. So I could see GM3 ultimately just overpowering him on the ground. He might be able to just find that submission that he's looking for, because I feel like Oleksiejczuk, if there's anyone that's going to win maybe on the judges' scorecards or anybody that's going to get the knockout, I could see it being him. And if there's anybody that's going to get that crafty underdog submission, man, it's going to be GM3. GM3, his chin just worries me. He's the much older fighter. He's the slower fighter. His striking is solid, don't get me wrong. He can hang in the pocket with a solid amount of guys, but it's not his main path to victory. It's not even his plan A, B, or C. Like, his striking is solid, but he clearly relies on the wrestling and the submission threat to get shit done. He's got the most submissions, I believe, in UFC history for this division, so the guy is a dangerous demon on the fucking ground, but I think Oleksiejczuk, his power on the feet's going to be too much, and he's got solid enough takedown defense, and he's going to be the quicker fighter, knows how to hang in a dogfight. So does GM3, but I feel like he's just younger, trying to get back on the win column here and go on a bit of a streak. He kind of went on a 3-fight losing skid before that, so he wants the momentum and the confidence back, and I think GM3 is a winnable enough fight for him to where I could see Oleksiejczuk winning via a round 2 knockout here, man. Moving on up next to the feature prelim, we got King Green, who I don't believe has won a fucking fight since changing his name to King. A bit of a bold move there, but Diego Ferriera is his opponent. He's the favorite, and I'm going with him to get this one done. We got another Unk versus Unk matchup here. We got a fucking lot on this card, Jesus. But 38 years old and King Green, god damn it, Bobby Green, taking on 40 years old and Diego Ferriera here, man. And I'm going with Ferriera because I feel like he is just going to be the quicker fighter here, the sharper fighter, and a bit more of that finishing ability that's able to hang nowadays. Like, Bobby Green, he's much more of the volume striker. He can get a knockout here and there, but he's kind of overwhelming guys with a pretty heavy pace, and he's just throwing a very high output and high volume on the feet with his crisp boxing. He's a solid striker. He hits solidly fucking hard, but over 3 rounds of him just kind of piecing you up from the distance and just kind of controlling the pace where the fight goes. His takedown defense can hold up half the fucking time. And in general, I mean, I'm sure that he and Diego Ferriera are very fucking glad that they're not facing heavy grapplers in this fight. They're finally not getting an opponent that's going to try and, you know, Paddy Pimba submitting King Green within fucking 60 seconds of the fighter. Diego Ferriera taking on Grant Dawson, and Grant Dawson's throwing spinning back kicks on the feet 1 minute, and then he's fucking trying to control you for the next half of the fight the next. So it's crazy to say, but finally these guys are getting up there in age, striker versus striker. This is kind of a very comfortable matchup for both of them. That's my point. Stylistically, I feel like this fight is just going to play on the feet the entire time, which plays into both of these guys' strengths, because Diego Ferriera, he's the more technical striker. I feel like he's more diverse and dynamic on the feet, and sometimes he definitely can take a bit too many risks, and that kind of bites him in the ass. He can be a bit vulnerable to guys who set a heavy pressure or are very heavy wrestlers, but again, Bobby Green, he's only one of those 2 fucking things, and occasionally Ferriera, he does have a bit of cardio dips. Like, he starts really strong early on in the fight, and he can die out. So there are things I'm a bit worried about with Diego Ferriera here, but ultimately, I just think that Bobby Green, man, he's been looking rougher and rougher after each fight. You know what I'm saying? And it's a bit tough to say because I understand both these guys have lost a majority of their previous few fights, but I just think that the power is not on the side of King Green here. I think he can get outpaced and just outworked by a bit more of a harder hitting or a bit more of a dynamic striker. And sometimes he's just a bit overly technical and overly cautious. Like, one minute he's just beating the fucking soul out of Jim Miller, and the next he's just a fucking Smash Bros punching bag for whoever the hell's in front of him. So Bobby Green is a bit inconsistent with his performances here. I just think that Diego Ferreira is going to be the sharper, bit more powerful, bit more dynamic, technical striker here. I'm going with him to get this one done via some kind of decision, man. I think that both these guys are durable enough relatively to where they can hang with each other's best shots. It's going to be a striking battle. I feel like it's going to play out throughout 3 rounds here, man. Moving on up next to Tim Elliott versus Kai Asakura, the battle of the flyweight gods here, man. Jesus Christ. I mean, Tim Elliott, he's finally back, okay? This is the return that you all wanted. 38 years old, another unk we got on the card here, man. And Tim Elliott is one of these fighters where you question how he even got in the top 10, but the bigger question is, how has he maintained that spot in the top 10? Because I get it, desperate times call for desperate measures. This guy got a title shot off of Tough, whatever the fuck, okay? But flyweight now in the big old 2025 has been absolutely cooking. I mean, we've seen a lot of prospects, Tetsuro Taira and Joshua Van taking the fuck over. The matchmaking and just the fights in general this year for the flyweights have been great. The rankings have been cooking. So why is Tim Elliott part of the mix? Why is Tim Elliott part of the fucking equation? That's my question here, man. There's a reason why he's an underdog. There's a reason why a lot of people are picking Asakura, and that's going to be my prediction. I'm going with Kai Asakura to get this one done. When you have your UFC fucking debut, I mean, similar to Tim Elliott, Jesus Christ, like, be a title shot, that sets a very high bar, okay? And against Demetrius Johnson for Elliott, and then against fucking Alexandre Pantoja for Kai Asakura. Kai Asakura is just a much more superior striker. He's going to hit harder. He's going to be a lot more dynamic. He's going to be a lot quicker. His ground game is pretty much non-existent, so I guess Tim Elliott, he does have the grappling advantage here. If Tim Elliott wants to go ahead and find some kind of crafty fucking submission or wants to fucking stink it up and is trying to take down Asakura all the time over 3 rounds and is just controlling him without advancing positions or not looking for any submission, if he just wants to ragdoll him and make it a fucking stink fest and make it a snoozer for the fans, Tim Elliott technically has the power to do that, because Asakura, his takedown defense is alright, his defensive grappling is alright, but we just don't know at the UFC level. So if Tim Elliott, man, maybe he could pull off some crafty shit show of an upset here. I'm hoping not, because Kai Asakura, he's very exciting on the feet. For Kai Asakura, I feel like this should be his fight to win, but I do understand the concerns. I understand why he's not some minus 800 favorite. I do understand there's a lot of question marks around him, because when you enter that UFC level, I mean, it's been shown when you see a lot of Ryzen guys or Bellator guys or PFL guys and they show up in the UFC, we've seen a lot of them consistently kind of come up short. So for Kai Asakura, I get it why this guy, he could be a promising prospect, but I understand why this might be somehow a losable fight for him as well. We're just gonna have to find out. This fight is gonna say a lot for his fucking career, because again, when you're fighting Pantoja and you only get fucking 2 rounds in there and you end up getting submitted, like, you don't, we as fans don't really get that much from you. But now that it's a much more realistic and reasonable opponent, like, I feel like we're gonna see a bit more cage time in here. It's a bit more of a winnable fight, a lot more paths to victory for Kai Asakura here, because I feel like he is going to have the striking advantage for sure. He's fast, explosive, he's got good counters, and he's got a strong finishing instinct in general on the feet. I feel he's going to be able to crack Tim Elliott, maybe get some kind of round 2 or 3 fucking KO here, or some kind of 29-28 decision. The guy's got good movement, good feints, and I feel like, again, the takedown defense, we just don't know, is it going to be able to hold up at the UFC level, or is it going to choke? We don't fucking know, you know what I'm saying? The defensive grappling is a question mark, the cardio could be a question mark, and the durability could be as well. We don't know, but I'm going to be trusting in the sharper striking of Kai Asakura to get this one done. He's the younger fighter, and I feel like he has so much more to fucking prove. He's actually trying to be fucking active here and try and move his way up in the rankings instead of Tim Elliott. You question how he even got there in the first place. So Tim Elliott, man, he does set a pretty high pace at times. He can be a bit awkward on the feet. It's hard for guys to figure out, and his wrestling could be the advantage here to get this one done. But I don't think his skill set is all that to where I'm going to be going with Tim Elliott as my underdog of the fucking card. So I'm going with Kai Asakura via a round 2 or 3 knockout here, man. Moving on up next to Jared Cannonier taking on Michael Venom Page MVP. Now, here's the thing, guys. Here's the fucking thing, you guys. This fight either is going to be one of the best fights of the night, one of the best fights of the year, or it's going to be an absolute stinker. I don't know. My prediction is going to be Jared Cannonier, though. I'm going with the plus 150-ish underdog. And Jared Cannonier, man, I feel like he's going to have he's just a more well-rounded fighter, and I feel like he's a high-level enough fighter to where I think he's going to get this one fucking done, man. I understand he's not even just a unk. He's a goddamn grunkle at this point. He's 41 years old, so it's just, he's getting very up there in age, but he's still able to hang at a very heavy pace with guys. He's still able to fucking get knockout wins over young upcoming prospects like fucking Gregory Rodriguez, who just got a recent win over Jack Hermanson, for Christ's sake. And then before that, making it a very competitive fight against Barboza and having some good moments. Before that, having a very bullshit stoppage against Imavov, and even he took a couple rounds rounds off Imavov, and before that he was on a little win streak, I believe. So Jared Cannonier, man, honestly, is a pretty underrated resume and skill set in general. Like, I understand why he's the underdog here, because you look at his age, you look at the fact that MVP is just so fucking elusive on the feet and is going to be the much better striker. Not the much better striker, but the better striker for sure, okay? Like, it's not night and day, but MVP is just kind of in a bit of a league of his own sometimes on the feet, man. Like, he's so fucking elite with his footwork, his head movement, his fluidity, the speed and sharpness of his strikes, the precision, like, everything is so there in the striking. It's a beautiful piece of art, to be fucking frank, with MVP, man. It's great watching his striking, but going back to what I was saying earlier, you just don't know if this fight's going to be a stinkfest or if it's just going to be a fucking banger. That's been a lot of MVP's career, man. Like, we thought that he was just going to add a bunch of shit to the highlight reel and he was going to get really cooking when he got to the UFC, but the fight against Ruziboev was disappointing as fuck, man. And I get it, because Ruziboev, he just couldn't get into the pocket with MVP. He couldn't figure out the range. He was clearly frustrated in there. And it was just a striker versus striker battle where MVP was just a smarter, faster, and just better striker. And in general, that's a great win for him. And that was a win at middleweight. And I think that middleweight is not going to be a mold that really fits him as well as welterweight. But I understand why he's making the move. He beat Ruziboev at middleweight. Now he's taking on Jared Cannonier. But I think Jared Cannonier, even though he in his own right is a good striker, man, I just think he's a lot more of a high-level fighter than a guy like Chimaev. Chimaev just went life and fucking death with Marc-Andre Barriou. And Jared Cannonier is a guy who can go life and death with Kyle Baraujo, who's going to, possibly fight for a title one day. That's what I'm saying, man. So MVP, I'm glad that he got a win at middleweight. It's very interesting to see him kind of make this a bit of a permanent move now here. But Jared Cannonier, I just think is just going to be a guy who, he's fought for the middleweight belt. He's fought at heavyweight before. This guy used to be a heavyweight. I feel like he's going to have the size advantage. I feel like he's going to have the strength advantage, the power advantage, the grappling advantage as well. Like, if this guy wants to try and get some takedowns in, it's going to be pretty difficult, because MVP, he's hard to get in the range, he's hard to kind of close the distance against. He's got solid enough takedown defense to where it is hard to take him down, but I think Jared Cannonier is a good enough grappler and is strong enough to where I could see him maybe, if he's able to close that distance and figure out the range early on, maybe he will be able to mix this fight up and take it to the ground when he wants. But again, MVP's got solid takedown defense. He's really going to want to keep this fight standing and banging. That's obviously going to be his greatest path to victory here. Obviously frustrate Jared Cannonier on the feet, maintain the distance, land the cleaner shots, try and honestly win in the judges' scorecards, because I don't see MVP knocking out fucking Jared Cannonier. Jared Cannonier is durable as hell. He has a good chin. Yes, he can get cracked. Yes, he is susceptible to fucking get caught by big shots on the feet, but he's also a good striker offensively and defensively, to where it's like, I understand that he might not be as quick or as fucking insane on the feet as MVP, but he's good enough to where I could see him giving him a lot more problems than on the feet than a guy like Chimaev. And I'm literally mentally disabled. I didn't even finish my point with this earlier, but you know how I was saying that MVP is a bit boring, right? I mean, the fight against Chimaev, and then before that, I mean, Ian Gary, that was a dud of a performance. And before that, the Kevin Holland fight, that was a bit fun, but in retrospect, it wasn't anything crazy. But in general, man, the UFC run that he's been on has not been anything I feel like that we were kind of anticipating. Not that it's been all bad. Maybe we were setting the bar too high, or maybe we were expecting too much. But it's just with MVP, man, like, guys are just getting so frustrated in there with him, and these fights that he's putting on, they're kind of a bit of stinkers. I mean, Gary had to go and make it a clinch fest the whole time, and he barely won a fucking split decision against MVP. And Jared Cannonier, man, I just think he's going to be too much for MVP. I'm going to be going with the plus money here. I think that he's going to be able to hold his own on the feet, close the distance more efficiently than a guy like Chimaev. And in general, I feel like he's just the more well-rounded fighter. He's got good ground and pound. He's got good elbows. He's durable as hell, and he's going to be the fighter in this scenario that has more paths to victory. So ultimately, I'm going to be going with Jared Cannonier to get this one done via, I say, a 29-28 decision here, man. Moving on up next to a banger on our hands, my boys. We got Jeff Neal taking on Carlos Prates, and I'm really glad this fight got rebooked. I'm going to be going with Carlos Prates here. I think he's going to be able to get it done. Now, I don't think that the fighting nerds are invincible. Like, I'm worried about potential matchups for not only Prates, but other guys in the four horsemen of the fighting nerds. Like, I think that some of them might be able to touch the belt, but not all of them. And Prates, I do think he's good. He's a very good striker. He's powerful as fuck, but I think this is a winnable fight for him. I think that Jeff Neal, on the contrary, man, he's also kind of a guy who primarily wants to stand and bang. He can kind of make it a stink fest sometimes. He can spend way too much time in the clinch or pushing you against the fence, but he's primarily a boxer. He wants to stand and bang most of the fucking time at the very least. Hence why I think this is going to be a fun fight, and also hence why I think that that's going to play even more into Carlos Prates' favor. He's not dealing with somebody who's trying to be well-rounded in all regards, like a guy like Ian Gary, who's going to try and mix it up on the ground, but he's also very patient and technical. He knows how to piece you up on the back foot and still winning the judges' scorecards. Like, Ian, let's talk about that Ian Gary fight for a fucking second, all right? Because Carlos Prates, he did have moments. He did look good, okay? But there was a reason why the betting odds were so close as well. Like, it was a very 50-50 fight. But I predicted Ian Gary to win that one, but I thought that he was going to be able to mix in the wrestling more, and that was going to play in his favor of winning the fight, but it didn't even fucking matter. Like, most of the takedowns were shoved off from Carlos Prates. It goes to show how good his takedown defense is. And we know he's solid in the clinch. He's got good elbows, but Jeff Neal, I feel like it's the type for this fight specifically, not really to shoot any takedowns. He might want to take this fight into the clinch, but I feel like if it's not going to be in the clinch, it's just going to be a stand and bang bit of a war here. And I feel like Carlos Prates and Jeff Neal are going to be pretty comfortable in that regard. But going back to the Ian Gary fight, like, Carlos Prates, it just seemed like he was very hesitant of gassing out. Like, it seemed like, you know, we all hear about this guy, and we see this guy smoking a pack of cigarettes a day. It's fucking crazy, but his cardio looked good in that fight, but it seemed like he wasn't throwing much output on the feet. He wasn't really landing heavy. He wasn't really throwing frequently. For the first 3 rounds of the fight against Ian Gary, he was very hesitant. He wasn't showing much activity, and that allowed Ian Gary to just piece him up. He wasn't landing very fucking devastating. This is Ian fucking Gary here, but he was able to land much more. He was able to outstrike him and just land the bigger shots. He wasn't afraid to get in the pocket with Carlos Prates. It was a good scrap, but really Prates just kind of didn't access the shit that got him to the fucking dance until the 4th and the 5th round. It just seemed like he was worried about his cardio and the fact that it was his first 5-rounder, but this is a 3-rounder, so you're in his world now, friend, as fucking Joe Rogan likes to say, and I think a 3-rounder is going to be a great kind of element for Carlos Prates here, because he can kind of get the fuck after it way sooner. It's not like a 5-round technical main event spot against Ian Gary, and against a guy like Jeff Neal, man, it's less time for them both to work here, but I feel like that plays in their favor. Carlos Prates can go at a much higher pace that he's used to, like going against a guy like Li Jingliang, however the fuck you say it, okay, the motherfucker that wanted to wear the suit at the press conference. He just moved the fuck forward immediately in that fight and set a tone and just found all the right shots against Li Jingliang. And against everybody in the UFC besides Ian Gary, Carlos Prates has knocked them out. He usually has the reach and height advantage. His knockout power is fucking devastating. And again, the fact that this is a 3-rounder, it's just, he's going to be able to work at his pace. He's going to be able to get the fuck after it very soon. And Jeff Neal, man, he can definitely hang in a dogfight scenario. We've seen that against Shavkat Rakhmonov. We've seen that against Vicente Luque. We've seen him hang in a dogfight. And he also has the power in his hands to take out a guy like Vicente Luque, to knock out a guy like Nico motherfucking Price, and also RDA. Like, people forget, man, but Jeff Neal, there's a reason why he's called Hands of fucking Steel, okay? He has power. There's part of me that kind of wants to just pick him and push up my fake hardcore glasses and be like, okay, I'm gonna go with Jeff Neal to win this one. He definitely has a chance to get it done, but I feel like Carlos Prates, the reach and height advantage, the power advantage, because Jeff Neal, he hits fucking hard. He's a solid fucking boxer. He's got an underrated bit of a resume he's got going on right here, but I just think that Carlos Prates, how is Prates gonna get it done? I think it's gonna be a 29-28 decision. Jeff Neal, he's durable as fuck. He barely gets finished. Sometimes he can get submitted here and there, but to be able to finish him on the fucking feet is a very difficult thing to do. I can't guarantee that Prates is gonna find a knockout here. Jeff Neal, he is durable as fuck, so I'm going with Prates to win, and I think it's gonna be a scrap, but I think it's gonna be a 29-28 decision. A bit of a war here, or maybe a round 2 or 3 KO coming from Carlos Prates. Jeff Neal's got a shot, but I'm going to be trusting in the big favorite and the fighting nerd and Carlos Prates to get a bounce back here. Moving on up next to the co-main event for this one, it's Lerone Murphy, bruv, the 34-year-old prospect taking on Aaron Pico, making his UFC debut. Now, honestly, I do dig the scrap. It's pay-per-view worthy, but co-main worthy is a different fucking story. I don't think it's just that, but it is what it is. It is what we're getting, and honestly, I think it is going to be a pretty good scrap. My prediction is going to be the slight underdog in Lerone Murphy. To be honest, I mean, there's a reason why these Bellator guys are just so hit or miss, and it's mostly miss in the UFC in the long run. And honestly, Aaron Pico's a guy who, he is a good fighter. He's a solid fighter. I think he could beat a solid amount of guys in the rankings. To be honest, I don't think he's just some jobber, but there's ultimately nothing in his skill set that's really standing out to where I think he could beat a UFC level guy that's in the top 10 and worthy of being in the top 10, like Lerone Murphy, bro. Because I get it, there's nothing in Murphy's skill set that really stands out. He doesn't have any insane singular fucking attributes, but he is very well rounded. Like, his wrestling offense, it's not too damaging, it's not too crazy, but it's also pretty solid at the same time. His takedown defense is pretty solid as well. He's relatively pretty durable. Like, the guy, he can't crack the fucking hardest. He doesn't have that much power in his hands, and he hasn't had any finishes in the UFC since Alex Pereira pretty much had his entire run. When I saw this fucking statistic, I swear to God, it made me laugh a fucking bit. Okay, Lerone Murphy has not had a finish since Alex Pereira made his UFC debut. So it is what it is, man. The guy doesn't really pack a punch. He doesn't have too much threats on the ground in general either, but he's still good. He's very technical. He's very polished, he's composed, he's patient, he's got a nice jab, he's got solid leg kicks, and he's durable as hell to where he can get in the pocket and he can get a bit scrappy against guys like, Edson Barboza and make that a bit of a dogfight. He gets stinking up as well, though. Like, the guy can fucking put on a snooze fest. Like, the fight against Josh Emmett was nothing to write home about, but these guys like Josh Emmett, Dan Ige, and I already forgot the other fucking name I said for Murphy, but he's fighting guys that are proven UFC level. And Aaron Pico, I think he's a good solid fighter. He's the much more explosive athlete here. And if anybody's going to get a finish in this fight, it's probably going to be Pico. But the guys that Pico was fighting, man, and even losing to, like Lerone Murphy, he's undefeated, and Aaron Pico already has 4 fucking losses before getting to the UFC. And I get it, he's the younger fighter by a few years, so he has a lot of more potential to grow and still, get up there to a higher level. But I just think the fact that he's already been taking a few losses outside of the UFC, and it's not even too long ago, and it's, the guys that he's beating and the guys that he is knocking out or submitting, like, they're a bit of jobbers compared to, like, a Lerone Murphy level talent, and I don't think Lerone Murphy's going to be champ. I don't know if he's even ever going to fight for the belt or anything one day, but when I've seen a lot of his fights by now, and to be fair, I haven't seen too much from Aaron Pico, so that's a clear fucking thing, and there's a reason why he's a slight favorite. There's a reason why I feel like 40% of people are picking Aaron Pico. Like, there's good reasons to. He can get a finish here. He's a solidly well-rounded fighter as well. He's got solid striking, solid boxing. He can be a bit diverse in the feet at times, and he definitely has the power advantage here. But again, like, you just don't know at the UFC level. So ultimately, I'm going to be trusting Lerone Murphy here. Like, Pitbull, MVP, Patchy fucking Mix, these guys like Michael Chandler, most of the time in the UFC, they are coming up short here, and I just think that Lerone Murphy, he can stink it up, he can be very slow to start, so I think that Aaron Pico is probably going to win the first round, as long as he doesn't freeze up like a Patchy Mix out there, alright? I think that he's going to try and make a statement, maybe hunt for a finish kind of early, or if not, at least hunting for a finish early and playing it fucking reckless, at least trying to set a heavy pressure and pace, because I think that Lerone Murphy can be susceptible under early pressure early on, man. Like, if Aaron Pico's making him uncomfortable from the fucking start, he might be able to crack him and find all the right shots. But Lerone Murphy, I think even though he is a bit of a slow starter here, I think he'll be able to still hang with Pico's hardest fucking shots here. Because Pico can crack, but again, I think Lerone Murphy, he's very durable against guys that are at the UFC level, so I just think it's a bit of night and fucking day here. But who knows? Pico, he's in a big co-main event spot. We've seen this before. It could be a fucking Michael Chandler-esque scenario, man. Pico definitely can win here. Lerone Murphy, he's the much more technical and composed fighter. He's fought better competition. He has better experience, and he is a bit older here, but still in the middle of his prime. So even though he's the underdog, I feel like he should be able to take this one. But Aaron Pico, man, he could just have the plot armor advantage. The plot armor could be a real fucking thing, okay? It's Uncle Dana not wanting anything to do with Lerone Murphy, bruv. It's Pico getting a big entry-level debut spot. Nothing too big. It's not like a top 5 Moves or Evloev level opponent, but this is very reasonable. And Pico's got the power and just maybe even, I don't even want to push on my glasses, and be that fake hard card. Maybe even has the takedown threat, man, because I don't think Aaron Pico's going to be fucking able to actually get a few clean takedowns in on Lerone Murphy. I think his defense is too solid on the ground, but Pico, man, I don't see too many things going for him in this fight, but he does always have that power fucking shot that could come out of nowhere, and he has that Bellator plot armor to come with him, man. So Lerone Murphy, I'm going to be going with him here. I think he's the more polished, well-rounded fighter, but Pico, he's definitely solid in his own right. I'm curious to see how his UFC run is going to be in general, and he definitely has a shot to win here. I'm going to be putting respect on him, but I think Lerone Murphy, ultimately, this old motherfucker is going to get it done. And moving on now to the main event of the evening, boys. The fight of the year, in my fucking opinion, we got Dricus du Plessis taking on undefeated Hamza Chimaev. Now, both these guys are undefeated in the UFC. This is as high level as it fucking gets, boys. You got the Goofy Goober and DDP, though. I'm not going to lie. He's going to win via flying anvil. He's going to win via slipping on a wet floor sign and accidentally falling into a knockout over Hamza Chimaev. I can totally fucking see that, okay? He's goofy on the feet, and even though he looked a bit more technical against Strickland in the rematch in his last outing, I think DDP, man, he's clearly the much more goofier fighter here, okay? But ultimately, I think there's a reason why he's the fucking champ. And I've been saying this for genuinely a year now. I've been so excited to fucking come out here and talk about this fight. I'm going with Dricus du Plessis, okay? This is one of my underdogs of the fucking year here. And don't get me wrong, not to push up my Doflamingo glasses here, bro, but I did pick Robert Whittaker to beat Hamza Chimaev. So I've been wrong with Chimaev before, okay? But I feel like Whittaker, was the ideal blueprint on paper to be able to take out a guy like Hamza Chimaev, but DDP is the actual fucking recipe, okay? Hamza Chimaev beats DDP on paper, but as you fucking know, DDP can't read, fellas, okay? I think that his volume and output on the feet is going to be too much here. His high pressure and always hunting for the finish, but also not just being goofy as fuck with it. He's got solid defensive wrestling, but also solid on the offensive end as well. But man, he's so well-rounded, man. He's got solid striking, solid power that goes behind it, always hunting to take your fucking head off or squeeze your head head off, man. And this guy is 1 or 2 wins away from becoming the middleweight GOAT. I'm going with Dricus du Plessis, man, but honestly, I'm worried as fuck for it, okay? For as well-rounded and as dangerous and as entertaining as DDP is, man, Khamzat Chimaev, there's a reason why he's the favorite. There's a reason why. I mean, don't be fooled by the fan poll. I'm pretty sure the last time I saw what the fans said, 60% of y'all had DDP winning, okay? Don't be fooled by that shit. A lot of people are going with Khamzat Chimaev, okay? And I'm not blaming him. Khamzat Chimaev has literally been on like a Kill Bill-esque vibe ever since entering the UFC, okay? Like, the guy is taking out people left and fucking right, and usually he's earning a bonus with it. Usually he's dominating them. Now, don't get me wrong, when this guy is going to the judges' scorecards, usually it's a fucking war. It's a back and forth fight where he's facing a lot of adversity on the feet, or the shit that he wants to get done on the ground isn't going as easily as he thought it would be. Like, we saw that against Gilbert Burns, and we saw that against Kamaru Usman, and I think that DDP has the potential to kind of bring the dogfight out of Khamzat Chimaev. We say this every fight where it's kind of like, if you're able to survive that first round and a half against Khamzat Chimaev, you're going to be able to usually make it to the judges' scorecards because his finishing ability kind of drastically goes down once that third round hits. And in general, like, he still hits hard on the feet a solid amount of the time, even when he's gassing out in the third round. You know, he's never been in a 5-rounder, but against Kamaru Usman, he was not afraid to make it a fucking dogfight and get scrappy on the feet in that third round. When his takedowns weren't working and it was just a stand-up battle for a lot of that third round, he wasn't afraid to strike because Khamzat Chimaev has solid striking. And the same thing with Gilbert Burns. He was standing and banging for a lot of that fight when the takedowns don't go the way he wants, because Khamzat Chimaev, he's a very dominant grappler, and most of the time his takedowns are getting through, but they don't always, man. If he's going against a guy who has a solid amount of experience or is making it a dogfight like Gilbert Burns, or a guy who has great fucking iron wall takedown defense like some shit out of Haikyuu like fucking Kamaru Usman, and DDP, I don't think he has the iron wall takedown defense that Kamaru Usman does, but it's around the same ballpark, so I think he'll be able to hang and probably get taken down in that first round, but I don't think he's going to get fucking squeezed out like Whitaker did. I think the first round obviously is going to be the most fucking difficult for DDP, okay? Because Khamzat Chimaev, he's shooting takedowns right the fuck away within 5 seconds for a lot of his opponents. And against like higher level guys like a Burns or like a fucking Whitaker or like a Usman, he kind of waits until like 10 to 15 seconds in, okay? But that's crazy to say that that's even a longer time. Like, to shoot within your opponent with such a relentless pace within the first 10 to 15 seconds of a fight makes his opponents uncomfortable, and they're prepping for it. That's their entire fight camp. They know what they're getting into with Khamzat Chimaev, yet they still get taken down. That goes to show how good and dominant his wrestling is. It's clean, it's dangerous, his submission threat is so there. He's so strong on the ground as well, man. Like, the squeeze that this guy has, and the way he's able to just pick up a guy like Li Jingliang, sorry, and send him to the fucking moon. And then by the time he comes back down, he squeezes his fucking head off, okay? It's crazy to say Chimaev's wrestling is something that you could argue, I mean, people forget, man, we've almost never seen something as dominant on the ground as a guy like Khamzat Chimaev. Now, if he wins the belt, man, and becomes one of the few fighters to ever, you know, be undefeated and still win a belt, like, it's gonna be crazy. Like, Khamzat Chimaev, we've been a bit invested in the storyline and the plot armor of Khamzat Chimaev for a while now, man, because this guy, when he came in 2020 and he's fighting 2 times within a week and he's getting finish after finish, and like all of a sudden this guy's gonna be the next champ, and then he goes a year without fighting, okay? He goes 3-0 in 2020, basically within a very short amount of time, and then he takes a year off, and that really is when we started to open our eyes. Not at that exact moment, but we should have known that Khamzat Chimaev, he was kind of going to be his own worst enemy with the inactivity from the cage, okay? Because genuinely, man, I feel like he really does kind of shoot himself in the foot with that kind of shit. He probably could have already fought for the belt by now, or maybe you've already been the champ, maybe defended the belt, and fucking retired by now if he was just a bit more active. But it seems like the illnesses and the inactivity and all the injuries have really just been a storm looming over Khamzat Chimaev's career. But I think he's going to show up for this fight, man. I think we're really going to see him healthy and probably as ready as he can ever fucking be for this fight, because you got to think this is his final title fight. This is the plot and the storyline that Khamzat Chimaev's career has been building up to. Uncle Dana has been praising and glazing this guy since day one, and the fans have had so much anticipation for all this guy's fights, and there's been so much attention on him from day one. So now that he's finally here and finally getting a fucking title shot, like, I'm not a crazy Chimaev fan, but I almost got a tear in my eye that we're finally seeing the full circle story. Like, it's a bit of some Cody Rhodes shit. Like, Khamzat Chimaev is gonna finish the story, but unfortunately for Chimaev, man, I think that DDP, his plot armor is gonna be too fucking much here, okay? Because both these guys, they're just so fucking good. This is why I started off by saying that this fight is so high level. Like, Khamzat Chimaev, undefeated in general, I believe 14-0 and 8-0 in the UFC, with most of his fights having bonuses. And DDP is 9-0 in the UFC, and now he's racking up wins over guys who are former champions, okay? Because Khamzat Chimaev has done the same thing over Whitaker and Usman, and he's fought guys that have fought for the title before as well and have been ranked. But DDP, man, is now consistently fighting for the belt now. This is going to be his third defense here, okay? And not to say that Khamzat Chimaev couldn't submit a guy like Adesanya. He totally could. But I'm just saying, like, these guys are racking up so many good wins. Like, who does that to Robert Whittaker? Only these two motherfuckers, okay? Not to sound like Joe Rogan, but seriously, like, to knock out Whittaker in one round. I know Whittaker's a bit chinny, but who actually fucking does that? DDP does, okay? Who submits Whittaker in one fucking round like that? Khamzat Chimaev does, because anybody else, like, yes, you can beat Whittaker, okay? He's very great, former champion, but he usually is the gatekeeper of all gatekeepers. He's the one that's holding it fucking down before you get your next title shot. Even Adesanya, he went to a 5-round back and forth with him in their rematch. And even the first time they fought, at least it took him till the second round to knock him out. And look at not Robert Whittaker, fucking Renier de Ritter, another goofy goober. He went to a back and forth war of a split decision against Whittaker. So only Chimaev and DDP have knocked out or submitted Whittaker in one fucking round. Who does that shit, man? Both these guys are in a league of their own. And whoever wins this fight, I'm fucking telling you, they are going to be running the division for a long fucking time. And whoever beats them, it's going to be a big fucking deal. It's going to be one of those upsets in the air where they're going to be like a plus 300 dog. And how did they just do that to Chimaev and DDP? I'm telling you, these guys are so good that whoever wins this fight is going to be running the division for the next couple of years, and is probably has a good chance of becoming the GOAT for the fucking division, especially a guy like DDP who's already almost there. So I think DDP's defensive wrestling, his takedown defense, is going to be able to hold up for a majority of the fight to where he can avoid getting submitted. I think that Khamzat Chimaev is going to come out like a bull out the fucking gate right away in the first round. Again, all of his opponents know what they're prepping for, and yet they still get submitted or taken down in that first round. I'm not saying DDP isn't going to get taken down, but I think the first round is going to be a 10-9 or a 10-8 for Khamzat Chimaev, but DDP will be able to survive the fucking storm. He has good submission defense, and then he'll be able to survive into that second round to the point to where don't be surprised in the third or fourth, if DDP is still there, that's when he really starts to fucking take over, not only in terms of the striking, okay, and really making a dogfight on the feet, but don't be surprised if DDP starts shooting a few fucking takedowns. I'm calling it right now, alright? Where DDP is going to be the one who's kind of implementing the offensive grappling if Khamzat Chimaev is kind of gassing out or it gets later in the fight or whatever the fuck, because I think Khamzat Chimaev, I wouldn't say his cardio is kind of underrated because I don't think it's great, but honestly it kind of is underrated when you think about, I think it's over shit on. That's how I'll put it, okay? I think that DDP's cardio, he looks like he's gassed the entire fucking fight, but at least he can hang in there for 5 rounds at a good pace the entire time. Khamzat Chimaev, he's genuinely gassed out by the third round, but he's still able to kind of hang in there. You could tell that he's really gritting fucking down on the mouthpiece though. He's still getting the fuck after it, but I think the cardio advantage is going to go to DDP, and this is a 5-rounder. Khamzat Chimaev is very fucking first here, so I think that he'll be prepped for it. I think that he can definitely hang in a 5-round scenario. There's so many times where guys are like, oh, how are they going to make it through 5 rounds? And, oh, it's their first main event spot. But, like, they're prepped for this shit. He's probably going to fucking be able to last through. So I think if Khamzat Chimaev wins, of course, it's going to be a fucking submission in the first round or two. But DDP, I'm feeling a 4th-round TKO from him here. I think he's going to drag Khamzat Chimaev into the fucking deeper waters here, okay? Going to be able to survive the storm on the ground, the early onslaught in the first round or two, and is going to be able to kind of take over the way that I thought that Robert Whittaker fucking could and should have, okay? Maybe not should have, because Khamzat Chimaev really is that good, but ultimately DDP by flying anvil is going to be the way I'm going here, okay? I say 4th round KO, man. I think this is going to be a dogfight. It's very high level. Khamzat Chimaev is insane on the fucking ground, and DDP is a very entertaining champion. I'm excited for the shit talk and the build up, and this fight is in Chicago, man. I wish I could fucking go. It's my main event of the goddamn year, but I just couldn't justify in my head affording the fucking $500 nosebleeds, man. I'm gonna go to the bars with the fellas and have a good fucking time, alright? So, it is what it is, brother. DDP, I'm going with 4th round KO. Very fucking excited for this one. I've been really looking forward to it for genuinely a year now, so very excited that we're getting him in. And moving on now to the blanks of the card segment. We got the underdog of the card, we got the locks of the card, we got the wild card of the card, and we got the card rating. All these I feel like are pretty self-explanatory, but I'll get to each one as I get to it. So, starting off with the underdog of the card. Which of my underdog picks am I the most confident in to get this one done? Now, if y'all know me and are familiar with the channel, I try and pick and choose my underdogs very carefully. I haven't really seen a card in a while where I picked this many underdogs, okay? But I went with DDP in the main event, I went with Lerone Murphy in the co-main event, I went with Jared Cannonier as well in the main card, and I went with fucking, who's the last one here? And I went with Nursultan Ruziboev to beat Brian Battle. I almost fucking picked GM3 and Jakar Klose, but that's literally more than half of the card are just fucking underdogs I'm picking. So I tried to pick and choose those 4 specifically here, but which one am I the most confident in? I mean, for as much as I've hyped up the main event and how much I've invested into DDP, I feel like I would be fucking ruining the plot, okay, if I didn't pick him and trust in him as the underdog of the card, man. I love this scrap. I gotta say Dricus gets it done, and I'm being realistic with it too. Like, I'm pretty confident in most of my underdog picks here, but Dricus du Plessis above all of them, man. Like, I'm not just saying it for the plot, but truly, I'm confident in it. I can see him getting it done. Moving on next to the locks of the card, which of my picks am I the most confident in, and do I believe that these motherfuckers are not losing? So I'm going to throw Carlos Prates on here. I'll put Prates. I'll put Kai Asakura as well. And I'm going to put Chase Hooper as my third. So those are my 3 locks of the card. I'm going with Chase Hooper to beat Alexander Hernandez. I'm going with Kai Asakura to beat Tim Elliott. And I'm fucking going with Carlos Prates to beat Jeff Neal. I'm kind of rocky on that last one, but I'm still going to trust in it, all right? Moving on now to the wild card of the card. Which one of these fighters are being very overlooked, not really picked, or kind of just being kind of just overshadowed? And if they are able to get a win, they could really shake up the division, shake up the rankings, or it's just a really big upset in general, all right? I gotta go with Aaron Pico. Like, I feel like some people are putting respect on him for sure. A lot of people are going with Pico. It's a solid amount, and he is the slight favorite, but in general, man, like, I feel like if he's able to pull this off, like, it really is just a wild card fucking moment. Because there are a lot of people like me as well that are going with Lerone Murphy. We're picking the other fucking side. We're trusting in the UFC level. If Aaron Pico manages to get this done and really make his way into the top 10, that legitimately would be a good win and a really great UFC debut, no matter how the fuck he gets it done, and it would shake up the rankings a bit here. So it's a big fucking high stakes matchup. Aaron Pico, if he gets it done, man, it's going to be a big win. So I'm going to put him as the wild card of the card here. And the card rating, what am I going to rate this card from 1 to 10? Now, keep in mind, I kind of grade the pay-per-views a little bit harder than I grade the fight nights here because, you know, I mean, they're a fucking pay-per-view. They're asking for your 80 fucking doubloons over here over in the US. So, you know what I'm saying. So, I'm going to give this card about a 7 to 7.5 range, man. I like this card. This is a good pay-per-view, all right? It's a really good main event. It's the fight of the year candidate, and I think it's going to live up to the hype. The co-main could be better. It's a bit of a letdown for co-main standards, but it's still a pay-per-view worthy fight. And then you got banger after banger after banger on the main card. Like, don't get me wrong, I could see them being snoozers, but it should be a fun main card on paper. And the prelims, I dig them. Like, they're not UFC the 300 level prelims. They're not absolutely stacked, or there's not a lot of guys, or really any at all in the rankings in there, but Green versus Ferriera, that's a good fight. GM3 versus Oleksiejczuk, that's a banger. You got Chase Hooper on the prelims. You got Barboza on the prelims. You got fucking Brian Battle and Ruziboev. Like, you got the 2 WMMA fights as well in here that I didn't cover. But in general, like, I feel like the prelims are good. Like, they're banger after banger. Probably going to end and finish. I feel like there's going to be a lot of action and entertainment on display here. I don't see a lot of these fights going to the distance, and even the ones that do, I feel like they're going to be fun as fuck. And then again, I got to preface, I could see a bit of a stinker here and there, but in general, I feel like Chicago is going to get some fun fucking fights, and it's a great main event. So I'm going to give this a 7 or a 7.5 out of 10, man. I dig this fucking card. And that's going to be it for the video here, man. Let me know your opinions in the comments below. Let me know your picks and predictions, and let me know your underdog of the card. Let me know your locks. Let me know everything on your fucking mind, chat. So I appreciate y'all a lot. Thank you so very much for giving me your time and attention. It means the fucking world to me. Let me know what you think in the comments below. Hope you have a good time watching the fights this weekend, boys. If you're going there live, if you're going to UFC Chicago, man, I envy you, and I hope you fucking enjoy it, man. So all the smoke here. Appreciate y'all. Hope you have a good one, boys, and I will see you all next time.